Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our first mock draft of the season here on the Real Forno Show. We're going to talk a lot about the draft itself, why mock drafts are important, and why they're also dumb. It's more of an exercise of thought process and potential outcomes rather than anything else. And I'm really excited to bring that to you here using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator here on the Real Forno Show.
Welcome to the Real Forno Show, hosted by Tyler Forness, the managing editor of USA Today's Vikings Wire, writer for the College Football Network, publisher of Substack Run In Shooter, host of The Good, The Bad, and The Hungry on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, as well as a founding member of Vikings First and SKOL.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another glorious episode of the Real Forno Show. I'm your host, Tyler Forness. With me, as always, is producer Dave. And as you can tell, our comments are coming in very weird. It's just a bunch of question mark emojis. So Dave is on the process trying to fix it. We're just going to blame the fact that he's wearing one of the ugliest jerseys in the history of professional sports. That's the reason why this is happening. It's the only logical explanation.
No, and you can go jump a short bridge in a long lake, something like that. No. The UND Fighting Sioux, prior to them becoming the UND Fighting Hawks, was a great team.
Yeah.
Just to let you know.
Gophers were better. And we're going to move on and we're going to talk about the NFL draft. And one of the interesting things about the draft, and we've had a lot of conversations, guys, about this process and about what it means and how to go about it. Because in itself, mock drafts are meaningless and kind of stupid. It's just a guessing game. You're trying to guess how things are going to go. People get ridiculously mad about, oh my gosh, I can't believe you sent this guy to this team. It's an exercise. And one of the reasons why you do this exercise, and it looks like Dave might have fixed it. If you know what, it would have been fixed faster if he was wearing that Gopher jersey. But we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on.
Hey, you want to send me a Gopher jersey? I'll wear it. There we go.
Hey, I got a Grant Patolni one. He hit the game winner in 2002 against Maine. But
and they're not jerseys; they're called sweaters.
It's the same thing. Anyways. The whole point with mock drafts is to explore situations. Now, even though they're dumb, it's good to be able to see, hey, this happened. What happens because of that? And there was one earlier today as I was throughout the week, I put together my mock draft roundup so I can just keep up on things. And one mock draft from Pro Football Network had the Vikings trading up to 4, and they picked Caleb Williams.
Oh,
yeah, it's a little weird, right? It doesn't feel like it's going to happen. But that's the thing. You never know. You just don't know how things are actually going to fall. Laramie Tunsil was a top 3 pick. Then he had a gas mask bong video released minutes before the draft started. He fell to 13. You have to be prepared for situations. Now, look, some situations are just not going to happen. But you need to be prepared. And you need to be ready for anything and everything. And in order to do that, mock drafts are key. Every organization does mock drafts. Why? To get prepared. Yes, you have your process. Yes, you have your board. Yes, you have all these scouting reports on all these guys. 1 sec. And none of that will necessarily matter to a point. Okay. Why? Because one thing goes awry and everything changes. What happens if Jameson Williams goes at 11 in 2022? Do the Lions still want to move up for Chris Olave? Like those are the kind of conversations you have. And those are the kind of things you have to prepare for. Now, when the Lions and Vikings had that trade pre-worked out and you make that final call, hey, we're in. You still in? And they could be like, no, our guy was just taken, so we're going to pass. And those are the conversations that you have before the draft. Those you have the conversations during the draft. And you want to make sure you're ready to go no matter what. That's what mock drafts are for. Because if you see, hey, this guy went, so now we're going to move forward. And okay, this guy went, so now this guy's going to go. That's the kind of process that we're looking at here. And that's why I'm really excited to do these mock drafts. We may not be doing them as often as we used to because we have a lot of great stuff. And with me now being full-time here, we don't have to just focus on mock drafts every single week. We can do a lot more stuff. And you know what? We can still do mock drafts. My buddy Lucas just pinged me in a Discord and said that you look fantastic, Dave. And I'm about to tell him that it's disgusting. But enough about the defunct jersey.
Let's black ice. Yeah, baby.
Let's talk about some of the things that will impact the mock draft. Some things that will impact the NFL draft. I actually just dropped something I was fidgeting with, so I'm going to grab that.
You do that. I'm going to talk to Drewster. Drewster, how you doing, my friend? How's the big board, Drew's big board, coming along? Because can't wait to have you on the weekend for two old bloggers to talk about some of it.
Hey, wouldn't that be three old bloggers?
Drewster's probably the youngster in the group. Yes, but go ahead. Pick on our
Dalton.
Age and wisdom. That's fine.
Hey, when we have our phone calls, you know how grateful and appreciative I am of you. It's just when you give me an opportunity, I'm taking it, and you should know that.
That's right. Hey, I wouldn't expect anything less, young Padawan.
Yeah. There we go. Hey, you know what? You've got the hair in the face. I've got the hair in the head. The combine it and we look like Thor from the Marvel movies.
Yep.
So it ends up being perfect. Delton, I want to hear your explanation that Troy Franklin's your number one receiver. Why? And I don't mean that in any sort of jest. I'm just curious because that is not an opinion that I've seen anywhere else. I would like to know. But let's talk about the things that will change. Mock drafts right now are going to be not accurate. Why? There's so many things that can happen. Free agency. Free agency completely changes how you view the draft because free agency is about filling needs. The draft is about acquiring talent. Some teams will use the draft to acquire a need. Well, the best approach is just taking talent. The Vikings historically, and look, you could take this with a grain of salt because it wasn't Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. They did not need a wide receiver in 1998, Randy Moss. They did not need a running back in 2007, Adrian Peterson. You take good football players. You figure the rest out. So I'm looking for free agency to fill those needs. And then in the draft, just take good players. That's it. Take good football players. And we're going to have a lot of answers because Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter, the two faces on our graphic today, they're the biggest free agents. They are two of the top 10 biggest free agents in football. What they do and how the Vikings approach those two individuals is going to completely shift how the draft works. Hypothetically, let's say the Vikings sign Kirk Cousins to a 3 or 4 year deal. They're not taking a quarterback. They're going to ride with Kirk Cousins. Now, we can argue day and night if that's a good idea or a bad idea, but that's what free agency is going to do. It's going to tell us what is going to happen moving forward. Same with Danielle Hunter. If they don't re-sign Hunter, Wanham, or Davenport, well, guess what? Edge is the biggest need on the football team. Like the Vikings could survive with Nick Mullins at quarterback. You're going to want another player in there, in the room. But Mullins is capable. And you know what? Even if the Vikings lose 12 games, it's going to be fun. Mullins is going to do some stupid stuff and keep it fun.
There's your answer.
Okay. Delton, I wrote a report on Troy Franklin. I liked him. I saw somebody compare his film to college Justin Jefferson. And I kind of get it with some of the movement skills, but I'll say this. The one thing that scares me about Franklin, he's about as strong as a pinky finger. Like the second he gets touched, he just kind of goes down. Like that worries me. And especially if you're going to be running an open field and all that kind of stuff. Like there are some things. But free agency is going to impact so much for this team. Yeah, Dalton. If you go to my Twitter, it's my pinned tweet. All my entire what do you call it? My scouting database, and it's got links to every player that I've written up so far. Easy to find. I'd grab it for you right now, but I'm a little busy. So it's going to impact so much of what's going to happen in the NFL draft. And truly, I believe that the Vikings are in a good position. Oh, dude, you're fine. Don't worry about it. I just found that comment very interesting. And I'm sure we'll talk about Troy Franklin because he may be on the board in a position where the Vikings might want to take him. Norris Fias, we will not be taking Bo Nix in this show. I can tell you that. And people are like, oh, you're just so stubborn on your opinion of Bo Nix. I'm like, no, I just believe what I say. Like, I'm okay evolving my opinion if I get new information. Nobody's given it to me yet. And that is going to probably stay my opinion, where he's just a fourth round guy. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Not everybody's a Sunday quarterback. But without further ado, fire it up, Dave. Let's get her done.
Welcome to Vikings First and SKOL's Mock Draft Mondays. Who will the Vikings pick? And who's your favorite choice? And
look at that.
The only thing I forgot to set up was your camera over here.
And that's okay. Hey, I will say that the comments are doing that one thing again.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, Dalton. You and I feel like we're boys on this show. Please don't insult me like that. But Tim Tebow? No, Tebow way better. Tebow way better. But, I mean, you could see the swamp up there. Florida guy right here. So, all right. So here's how we're going to do this. We are going to only pick for the Vikings. We're going to do a 7-round mock draft. Dave is going to get that set up right now. As you can kind of see, he's going to click Vikings. He's going to click 7. And then we're going to start slow. So when things progress throughout the first round, we're going to kind of see where everybody goes. And then we're going to determine if we want to go up and make a selection. Yes, Anthony, this is PFF. The reason I'm using PFN is it doesn't have the proper Vikings draft picks. They're missing one. And until that gets rectified, I'm not going to be using Pro Football Networks, but I will be jumping around this year to a couple different ones because I think it's important to use different ones to see where players are ranked and how people are coming off the board. I think that's a very important part of this process. But until that gets fixed, we won't be using Pro Football Networks. Dave, let's go.
Started.
I can't see who's being picked though.
Because it's thinking. I got it on way slow.
Yeah, but I Dave, the whole point is for me to see it, so then we can make a trade offer.
Hold on. Let me refresh this stupid thing. $11. Let's go medium slow. Enter draft.
All right, there we go. That's perfect. Okay, start it, and then let's kind of go. Let's see. I don't know how to make this full screen. All right.
Hold on.
Oh, that's why you had that pulled up. Okay. That's how that ended up happening.
What the fuck? Over. Hold on.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, let's give a shout out to our sponsor, our friends at Underdog Rescue Minnesota. If you are in need of a loving furry friend who needs out of a bad situation, Underdog Rescue is the place to go. They save dogs from everywhere. They take strays, they take private surrenders, they take breeder releases, and with the overcrowding down in the South at animal shelters, they take those dogs too, bring them up here, give them fosters, and then they get them adopted. That's how we got our Sweet Eclair, and we do it again in a heartbeat. UnderdogRescueMN.com. Even if you cannot adopt or foster a dog, they take donations, and they have wish lists on Amazon to be fulfilled to help all of these dogs.
Are you ready?
UnderdogRescueMN.com. Let's get mocking. All right, first few picks. Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. All right. Drake May. This will probably be Neighbors. Oh, Odunze. I like Odunze better. Neighbors. Daniels. Joe Alt. Cooper to Gene. I think it's a little too high for Cooper. But now here's kind of what we got. We got the tackles up top. Olufashanu, Talis Fuaga. I don't think the Vikings are going to end up taking one of those guys. I do think Fuaga is going to be best at guard because of his arm length and just he's not super quick getting into his pass sets. Dallas Turner, Jared Verse. I'm a little lower on those guys. Terry and Arnold's my number 3 player on my board right now. And just so everybody knows, my board gets constructed as I finish players. I don't put together a board and then modify it when I watch guys. I put it together as I'm watching them. So my first player was number 1 on my board until he got dethroned. So that's kind of how I do things. That's how I prefer to do it, because then I'm giving you what I feel is a real fair piece of information.
Right. You sit there and watch a player and you go, he should be right about here. He should be. And with what you've already got existing, you slide him in.
Yeah. Essentially, that's exactly what I do. So now you have Laia Tulatu, Quinion Mitchell. Delton's saying, hey, maybe we should trade back. Let's take a look at the trade offers. What is coming in, or who wants to trade? Because I think this would be a good opportunity to trade back. The Dolphins. Okay. So it's all the way down to 21. I think you can get 53 from Miami for that pick, because you're moving down 10 spots.
Right.
I also think you could probably get a 3rd round next year, because
so boing, boing, and then boing.
Yep. So the trade comp that I'm remembering is the Steelers going up from 20 to 10 to take Devin Bush. They gave up a 1st and a 3rd this year and a 2nd next year. So it's essentially the same capital. Offer the trade and let's see what happens. I think this is going to be accepted, and then we're going to be in a good spot. Perfect. So the Dolphins have made the trade, and now we have another 2nd round pick, which is going to help us bolster this team. 2nd round picks should be starters by year 2. That's kind of how I view it. Unless you're talking about a quarterback like a la Jalen Hurts, where, hey, it's a developmental guy. Let's kind of see how things go. Bo Nix goes to the Raiders. Oh, poor Raiders fans. They've dealt with enough. Dave. Latu, Nate Wiggins, Brian Thomas Jr. I'm a little lower on Brian Thomas Jr. than a lot of people. Kool-Aid McKinstry goes at 20. All right, Dallas Turner, Quinion Mitchell. So Terry and Arnold is gone, and that's the one thing that I was a little was hoping he might slide. Jackson Powers Johnson. Look, I get it. It's a no for me. He's a very, very good football player, but we have so many needs on this team.
I know.
And when you have capable, like similar talent, that becomes a luxury pick for me. Now, if Powers Johnson's far and away the best player on the board, okay, that's a whole different conversation. In my opinion, he's not, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
But he's getting me excited being there. That's too high. First round, though, is too high for a center. Now,
I will say he probably goes top 20,
but he is projected to be that good. He's projected to be a possible future Hall of Famer for a center, which is something terrible or something wonderful. Norsefius agrees with Delton. Take Turner.
I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't take Turner here. I'm a little lower on him than a lot of people.
Okay.
He's the classic case of giving an 8-year-old a Ferrari, where the Ferrari has everything you'd ever want, but just the person driving it just doesn't know how to use it. That's Turner right now. And that worries me.
Yeah, but does he have the skills of the Ferrari? Does he have the potential of the Ferrari and just not the polish and knowing how to use it? Does he have the body and the capabilities?
But I don't know that he can use it.
Okay.
Like that, he hasn't shown enough that he can use it. He's a freak of nature athletically, and he's got good size and he's got really good speed to power, but it's the rest of it. I don't have enough information to feel comfortable taking him, especially when Chop Robinson's still on the board. I like Quinyon Mitchell a lot. I moved him up my board yesterday because of how well he performed at the Senior Bowl. And I did it because of his performance at the Senior Bowl, because he answered questions, not just because he played well. He played well in press, something he never did at Toledo, and he whipped guys' butts in press. So to me, that was a next level thing, which is why I ended up moving him up a little bit. I did just watch Byron Murphy about an hour and a half ago. Good football player. I have him as a firm second round grade. There's just some limitations there. He's a little small. I'm worried he might measure in at 6 feet. He's listed at 6'1". Yeah.
Ooh.
He's listed at 6'1", 308. Or sorry, 6'1", 295. So here's what I would do.
We got trade offers if we want to trade back and build more picks.
I'm going to say no. I think this is kind of the sweet spot. I'm going to take Quinyon Mitchell and get that feisty press man corner who's got phenomenal ball skills. I don't love the fact that it's a corner, but I think he's the best player right here on the board for the value. And even though I have Chop Robinson as a higher value, I do believe he's going to be available later, which is why I'm taking the cornerback now. I think he's better than Turner.
Okay. You're going to hear Vikings fans, another corner.
That's fine. I don't care. That is completely fine.
And the Eagles replace a Hall of Fame center with a possible next Hall of Fame center.
Which, I personally, I don't think they do that because they took Cam Jurgens. They let Jason Kelce pick his successor. And they drafted him in the second round 2 years ago. So I don't think that they would do that. I think here's what I think they're going to do. I think they take Tyler Guyton. Oh, Dave, you only picked first round.
Okay. Let's do it all over again, people. Hey, we got a B plus. Screw that. A for
the trade was a B plus.
Trade and an A, solid A. All right, let's start a new mock. Sorry about that. I apologize. PFF, you got to select every single setting every single time.
Yep. It's a little annoying, but that's fine.
We got time. Come on. All right, here we go again. Starting over. Take two.
Perfect.
Start the draft. Chicago's on the clock. And let's see what they do. My computer screen goes black. There we go.
as I enjoy my kombucha.
It was only kombucha. That's why I was driving truck.
Oh my gosh, that's an all-time story.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute all-time story.
Vikings. Now, this one I've seen. Jason Newton.
Here's the deal. We're taking Jaden Daniels. We're taking Jaden Daniels. Taking Jaden Daniels.
No-brainer.
I've
never seen him fall this low.
You remember in 2021 when Justin Fields fell to 11 and nobody saw it coming?
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. So in this version of the mock, we get the quarterback of the future at 11. Don't have to move up. My guess is the Vikings would move up just to secure it if he were to actually continue falling like that, which it's just a smart thing to do. There is literally no price to pay that's any kind of realistic. That is too much for that quarterback. All right, Dave, I think you can speed it up a little bit because otherwise we're going to be sitting here chatting for a little bit. Odie's just sitting on the floor being good boy.
Oh, I don't know how.
I don't know if it's changed because of your compressed screen, but there is a bar. It's usually up at the top that tells you the speed of the draft that you can modify.
Not seeing any bar.
Are you using Safari?
Yes.
Wonder if that has anything to do with it.
It could very well have something to do with it.
Because I'll send you a picture on Twitter and kind of show you what I'm seeing.
Okay.
And it might be something where we have to end up using Brave as we do the live production meeting because the setup, as you can kind of see, this is what it looks like for me. And then that bar is right above where all the picks are.
Mm.
But we are on the clock. 10th pick of the second round, pick 42, Tyler Guyton, Keon Coleman, Chris Jenkins, Graham Barton, Jermaine Burton, Xavier Legette. I'm not really too enthralled by the receiver options. Ooh, choppy boy. All right. Dave, I've seen enough. Chop Robinson.
You didn't even have to say. Once I saw him there, he's being selected.
Oh, yeah. Chop is a phenomenal football player. And if you haven't seen it, we do have a SKOL Search episode dedicated to Chop Robinson already released. And you can go check that out. I think can't remember if I have him ranked over Terry and Arnold or not. I have him 0.2 points behind Terry and Arnold for the best defensive player in this draft. I love Chop Robinson as a prospect. I think his get off the ball is incredible. And I think he's a little more technically sound than other people do. But that get off on the ball is just nuts. It's so good. And when you pair it with a good defensive line coach that can help him grow and develop that ability, I think you're going to be able to take things to another level.
I want to apologize to the viewers. The comment stream froze on my end for some reason. It's now flowing since we picked Chop Robinson.
Odie's being good boy.
Well,
good Dave, should we show them Odie?
Oh, absolutely. Considering we don't have our pick in round 3.
There he is.
Boy.
You go boy.
Uh-huh.
Odie, can you got to look at the camera.
Yes, he was good. And thank God you got pants on.
Well, I wasn't going to show you Odie if I had no pants on. Personally, I don't care, but it's not professional. Well, actually, Dave, if we want to be technical, I'm not wearing pants. I'm wearing shorts.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. All right. Did you see the quote earlier today, Dave, as we wait to get to our 4th round pick about Justin Jefferson and his contract?
Yes, I saw the blurb, what he said.
Did you think it meant anything?
No.
Same. For those of you that don't know, Justin Jefferson said, I want the bag and I want to get paid. And he also said that I know the Vikings will take care of me when the time is right. So I'm not really too worried about it. It's essentially a big ball of nothing. He's like, hey, I know what I'm worth and I know I'm going to get paid what I'm worth and I'm not worried about it. So
question for you.
SKOL,
Mobile.
TYA. I love Mobile. I hate getting there. It's such a pain in the butt because you can't ever fly direct from Minnesota. You have to always connect. And I think next year, what I'm going to end up doing is fly to Pensacola and then just do the hour drive and maybe coordinate with somebody else who's also going to be there. So then we can split the rental. Because rental cars are expensive, man. They're not cheap. And that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. But we'll kind of see and figure it out. But man, I love being in Mobile. It's so much fun. The food is great. We went to Winsel's, the Oyster House, which is always awesome. We went to this steakhouse called Briquettes, which is kind of like their version of Texas Roadhouse, that kind of price point. It was really good. All right, let's take a look. So we've got Mason Smith, who's an interesting option. Anais Smith, who I'm not the biggest fan of. Bucky Irving. Oh, it's going to be hard to say no to Bucky Irving. I know running back is an interesting position. The Vikings need to address it. They need to address it big time.
Is that too small for everybody to see?
I can see it just fine. So okay. I'm hoping that their vision is similar to mine.
Well, they should have higher quality because ECAM doesn't necessarily care about you, but they care about what's going out.
Mm-hmm.
So you're talking about Bucky Irving. We have safety Dadrian Taylor Demerson.
He dominated Shrine Bowl.
Oh, good. Nehemiah Pritchett.
Nehemiah Pritchett.
Nehemiah. Thank you. But we've gone down here. Harrison Smith. What's your opinion on him?
So I haven't watched Mason Smith in depth yet, but there definitely is some explosiveness to his game, and there is talent there. I think he had a kind of a down year this past year. I think he dealt with some injuries, but good football player, and I think it'd be worthwhile at the spot. I'm just seeing Bucky Irving, and I want to take him because he gives you some of that explosiveness. He gives you that dual threat ability, and he's shockingly great at dealing with physicality despite being a slim 195 pounds. It doesn't show up on his tape. You think it would by looking at him, by seeing how he's built. You would think so, but it doesn't.
And we could use a potential RB1.
Yeah. I don't think he's ever going to be a bell cow, but then again, I don't think there are really guys who are going to be bell cows at this point anymore.
Yeah, but if you have that explosive back that could be the primary back, and then you spell him, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
He'd be a good 1A, and I think 1A is a good thing to have because then you can have a 1B, and you feel a lot more comfortable with Madison being like your 1B, your change of pace. Like I just don't think he has nearly enough juice, but he's got all those other intangibles. So yeah, we'll see.
Hey, we got a super chat from Ape Father's Man-Child. Thank you very much for the $1.99.
That's a phenomenal username. The Ape Father's Man-Child. Is that related to Harry and the Hendersons in any way? Because that's fantastic. We will find a way to trade back. We kind of did in the first one that only lasted a round. The thing is, we want to let the board come to us, And, well, Jaden Daniels came to us, so we weren't going to say no. All right. We just took a running back, so running back's out of the question. Bo Limmer is an interesting center. He's a little bit undersized, but he kind of uses that to his advantage and gets some leverage. Oh, he's not undersized. He just looked really small and mobile. I didn't realize he was 6'5". I thought he was like 6'2".
Hey, at 6'5", 307, he's still got room to pack on another 20 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
I thought he was shorter, though. Like, it felt like he was playing short in Mobile, because that's my only exposure to him, was seeing him at the Senior Bowl. I will get some exposure to him at some point, but that, from what I've heard, the tape is a little bit inconsistent, but we'll kind of see. Malik Washington's an interesting option. He's mainly a slot guy, but was incredibly productive this past year for a really weird Virginia team. If you don't know about Virginia, end of the 2022 season, they had 3 players get shot and killed on a bus.
Wow.
A former walk-on the football team, I think it was, was vengeful towards the football team and ended up killing 3 of them. It was just brutal, absolutely brutal. And then the university and football team was just downtrodden for a while, and rightfully so. That's something incredibly difficult to bounce back from, so to speak.
SKOL TY asks, is there any truth to the Henry rumor?
That Henry might be coming here? Look, where did it come from? That would be my first question. You're going to hear a lot of different things. I don't think Henry's going to come here. I think the Vikings won't pay him. He's also like 30 as a running back, even though he's an alien running back. I just don't see that happening. Dean did ask why I'm out on Braylon Allen. I think Allen's good in certain systems. He can't move laterally. He's like 6'2", 235 pounds, and he needs to be in a gap scheme. He should not be in a zone scheme where he has to pick and cut back. That's just not. Oh, it was just speculation from PFF Brad. Okay. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it at all. All right. Let's take a look.
Lloyd,
I'm going to be honest.
Limmer,
I don't.
Shipley, Washington, Jones. You want to trade back? Kamara.
No.
Braid. Murphy.
This is going to be that really weird part of the draft where
Boyd.
There's not a ton of talent left. There's going to be a huge talent cliff at about 75 or 80. Would not shock me to see a lot of teams try to bundle up day 3 picks and move up because of that, because there's just not a lot of talent. And some of it has to do with there were less than 60 underclassmen declaring for the draft. Like 5 years ago, it was 120. Like, that's significant. I think what we need right now is a defensive line. And I see Christian Boyd on the board, and I want to take him out of Northern Iowa. Went to the Senior Bowl and dominated. He is kind of a tweener between a 3 technique and a true nose. He's a good run stuffer, and he's explosive. I think that's a good player to have. And you can kind of see that there is some real growth there from 2021.
Good size.
Yeah. And I think there's room to grow, especially coming from the FCS level. You're not going to want him to play right away, but you can work him into a rotation, get him developed. And I think Boyd would be a nice fit. And I think it's a good value here.
Okay. Like that he's a redshirt senior.
All right. So now we have 2 picks in round 5, pick in round 6, pick in round 7. And something to be aware of. One of the picks in round 6 may come back to us.
Meaning?
I don't know if the conditions were filled with the Josh Dobbs trade. That might just cancel out.
Yes. And I believe that's the case.
We'll know when the NFL officially releases like the entire draft order, what that looks like.
I was reading your article on free agents and who to keep, who to not, and you re-signed Josh Dobbs.
Yeah. I think if Kirk's not coming back, you got to have another guy in the room. And look, do I love Josh Dobbs? No. But I think he's a capable body to have in the room, and especially if you give him an entire off-season in the program, maybe you can get some better results out of him. But at the end of the day, he's in a similar place as Nick Mullins. He's a high-end backup quarterback. He's not going to be a starter. He's a high-end backup. I think that's worth something. Sign him to like an incentive-laden deal where if he starts a bunch of games, he gets bonuses and all that kind of stuff. And then you know what? If you get that quarterback and you need Dobbs to start some games, Dobbs gets bonuses. And there you go. Anthony, we're not taking Jordan Travis. Not when I don't know about the shattered ankle, and I wasn't very high on him going in. It's just
JD Bertrand.
The thing with the Notre Dame linebackers is they're not very athletic.
Okay.
And that kind of worries me. Let's kind of see who else is on the board. Nugent's a good option. Cedar Gray, I do like. I think he's more athletic than his contemporary that we just talked about, Bertrand. And to me, that's kind of what I'm looking for out of a linebacker. I want that athleticism because then it's going to be harder to take advantage of you with stuff like play action.
Have we addressed edge?
Yeah, we took Shop.
That's right.
We can take another one. I don't think McGregor's that good.
Okay. Wide receiver, Isaiah Williams.
Man, if only that was Juice Williams from back in the day. Oh,
linebacker.
Juice's name was Isaiah. So
tight end Theo Johnson.
Theo Johnson's interesting, really interesting. I think what I'm going to do here is something that I think is going to appease the chat and appease you, Dave. I want to go back up and I'm going to take center from Michigan, Drake Nugent. I know there were some people talking about Zach Zinter a little while ago. I've heard Zinter may never play football again. So okay. I don't know that for a fact, but that leg injury, brutal. Absolutely brutal. So
Drew's out there. Drew, have you watched Nugent's film? I know you watched him play every single game. I'd love to know what you thought of the young man. But Nugent it is. We have a center, possible replacement for Garrett Bradbury, or, as we know, centers and guards often are interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing with, like we talked about earlier, Jackson Powers Johnson. He only played center 1 year. He played guard before that at Oregon. So he's got that real flexibility. We've got, we're picking at 160. Dave, let's pull up receiver here because we've addressed quite a bit. But I think we need to draft a depth receiver. And you've got Cephas and DeCorian Clark, both really good options from UTSA. Luke McCaffrey, I was not impressed with. I didn't think he moved very well at all. And to me, that's a concern. Anthony Gould is like Tank Dell size. And I just don't think he's the type of athlete and route runner to really be able to be successful outside of being a gadget option. So I'm out there. What else do we have? I want to go with like a couple more down. Moose Muhammad, Brew McCoy, back to school. David White Jr. Okay. Dave, I like this kid. Western Carolina. He's like 6'5", 210, height, weight, speed guy. He's probably going to be like in a mold of like a DK Metcalf right away. Hey, go run these routes. And then don't panic. Don't worry about it. But then you can grow and develop him. 6'4". Wait, you guys are talking about Cowing. Cowing's not on the board, is he? Yeah, I don't think Cowing's on the board, guys. I think he's gone. Yeah, Cowing's gone. I think of these guys. I do like the two wide receivers from UTSA, but I think I'd like to go with David White Jr. Just a good football player, and there's a real athleticism and potential to tap into. Which, if you're going to take a dart throw, like, look, let's just be honest, 5th round pick is kind of a dart throw. I want to take one on a guy who's got the proficiency to really be explosive, the size, the athleticism profile. You get him in a room with guys like Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson. Not only can they help potentially extract more out of him, but he also provides something different. Mr. Tonic Amps asked, what about a tight end because of Hawk? Look, I think that's a real possibility. I will warn you, though, taking a tight end, like, remember they took Nick Muse 2 years ago in the 7th round? He just may be stashed on the practice squad all year. I think that spot will probably be better suited for a veteran. I think they'll bring back Johnny Munt. And then you have Oliver, Munt, and Muse, and your tight end room is good enough until Hawk comes back.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of these... Yeah, these names aren't doing anything for you to help you now, which is the idea of making the pick. So I would say no.
Dalton wants to look at some interior big boys.
Okay. Evan Anderson's a true run stuffer, Florida Atlantic. We can probably get him with our next pick. Gabe Hall, if you would have only watched him in Mobile, you thought day 2 pick. If you watch his film, he's like an undrafted free agent. So he's a really weird one. It's almost like it feels like he got out of Baylor, started working with a private coach, and then figured it out. Okay. That's kind of my guess.
Now I want to go.
We already took an interior guy, Dave. We're probably not going to do another one.
I was thinking the guard.
You got to remember, they're going to do some work in free agency at these positions.
Oh, I'm well aware, but just it takes a while to develop alignment, and it'd be good for depth.
I love me some kombucha.
I love me some bourbon.
Oh, I know you do.
How about corner? We already took one, but do we want to double dip?
Well, let's see if there's anybody that kind of jumps out. It looks like corner's been pretty much picked over at this point. Yeah. So it's probably a Noah corner, which is fine. I mean, it is a good corner class, and we got one of the best ones in Quinn. No, we didn't take Mitchell in this draft. We got Jaden Daniels. So actually, we didn't take a corner, but they're kind of picked over. And I'll be honest, I'm actually okay not taking a corner in this draft because you have all of your guys are under 26. Like, there's still potential and real development that can happen with this group. So you don't have to take a guy because essentially you're just saying, hey, I want to take another development guy when you have 4 development guys, essentially. Byron Murphy Jr. is a little bit less than a developmental guy, but you understand kind of what I'm like what I'm talking about. We got the receiver. Ula Fashio. Let's take a look at him because I think that's an interesting one. I don't think he's a hyper athlete, but I do think he's a good football player. Moves well enough in space, really solid tackler. I think when you're at this point in the draft, it's not all about, hey, I think this guy can be a starter in a year. I think you take this guy who can be a good depth player and good on special teams. Yep.
6'1", 236. That's a nice size.
Yeah. I think he's a good football player, and he's a hard worker. He went to Washington as a walk-on, earned a scholarship and a starting job. So you have a guy who understands the drive, the grind to be able to work his way up. Now, Ula Fashio, let's do it.
Anthony, he just answered you. We got our linebacker.
And we have 2 more picks left, 179 and 230. So I think as of this point right now, I'm just going to start looking at guys who I think could be impactful in some way. Who, hey, maybe they're not day one players. Maybe they're just special teams guys. Dean's talking about Dylan Labe out of New Hampshire. Everybody knows how much I love Dylan Labe. I don't think he's going to be available at this point. I'm just going to be real with you. But all right, stop. I found our guy. This is a guy I really like, who I'm going to watch. His name is Brennan Jackson, Washington State. He's an edge rusher, and he's like 6'4", 265. Down a little bit, Dave. Brennan Jackson right there, Washington State. I think you can put 20 pounds on him, and then he can play 5 tech, and he can be an interior guy for you because of how he likes to play and win. Ooh. That's his game. He likes to play on the interior. He likes to play like that 4-eye and win from the inside. You give him real grown man strength and bulk up that body, and I think you could have a really solid player in 2 years. So Brennan Jackson's going to be my pick. And you know what? If you don't want to wait that long, you can try him out as a true edge. But I think he's going to be more of an interior player. I was really looking forward to see him in Mobile, and all of a sudden he had a boot on his ankle. Just like, man, didn't practice at all. I was very disappointed. I was looking forward to seeing him and seeing him go through that process. But look, it's football. That stuff happens, man. It happens. One thing we are going to do is when this draft is done, Dave is going to save the graphic, and then we're going to share it on social media and kind of getting some instant feedback and see what people think. Because look, I'm going to be honest, Jaden Daniels at 11 doesn't feel pretty realistic at all. But we're also before the combine. We're before a lot of these players will interview with teams, because Daniels didn't do the All-Star circuit. So the one benefit about doing the All-Star circuit, like going to Senior Bowl or going to Shrine, is you'll have initial conversations with pretty much every team. And by having those initial conversations, it starts a dialogue. It starts their process of getting information gathering on players, and it helps build a relationship. The Vikings built a relationship with Jaron Hall, and they ended up taking him in the 5th round because not just from the Senior Bowl, but then they had a really impressive meeting at the Combine. Like that kind of stuff matters. That's why 3 of the Vikings 6 draft picks were at the Senior Bowl last year. And then there are 2 UDFAs that stuck around. Senior Bowl. It matters. It matters for teams too. So it's going to be fun. Delton's like, say it like it is, Ty. If you don't like it, you're stupid. Look, I got a good laugh out of that. That was pretty good. I'm not going to call anybody stupid. I might call Dave stupid, but he knows that's out of love. All right, we got one more pick, and then that is going to be the end of the draft. Pretty much the end of the show. But here's the thing.
Once we wrap it up,
every mock draft is going to look a little different, and it's by design, because no draft is the same. No mock draft is the same. There are differences all the time, and those differences matter.
Yeah, and no draft goes as everything's mock draft 10,000, 100,000 times. They still don't match the draft.
Absolutely. All right. So we got a couple quarterbacks at the top. Trevin Wallace, I'm out on him. He could barely move in Mobile. Sometimes when you see a guy live, you can just tell it's a no. And for me, Wallace is one of those players. Let's keep going down. Anthony's asking about Brownlee. Look, Brownlee probably went round 2. And I will say, I actually don't think he's in the simulator right now. All right. I found our guy.
Who?
Jared Wiley, tight end TCU. I can't believe he's still on the board. I'm like I said, I wasn't a big proponent of taking a tight end here, but I also thought Wiley was off the board in like round 4. Like, I think this guy's just a great value. He has the ability to get open consistently and the ability to make dynamic catches, difficult catches.
Whoa. He's a big boy.
And he moves well. He moves well. So to me, this is a value pick. And I would expect him to be gone.
Tackle.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's take a look to see once this loads up here in a couple minutes, what they end up grading us at with each pick. And we're going to continue doing these, and we're going to do them on a somewhat regular basis. We're
going to speed it up a little bit more than this.
We may get bored, and we may just do one because we're bored and be like, hey, it's like Wednesday at 11 a.m. Let's just do one. That's why you're going to want to subscribe and ring the bell, because we're going to give you streams that you had no idea were coming.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nice part. The yesterday's SKOL search, we've been doing them at 6 o'clock. Yesterday's happened at 4. I know Dalton was here, and I know we had some other people in here too. You got to ring the bell, because we will go live at different times because of what our schedules look like. And we want you to make sure that you can join live if you can. You know what the best part is? If you can't join live, that's fine. Because once you get that notification, you'll know, hey, I got something to watch when I get home. All right. And then you'll know it's coming. We're also going to do more shorts where I'm going to have some content talking a little bit about specific players. I'll have stuff coming out. Hey, when I watch a guy, just talk about him quick. Talk about what I think about him. And then we'll go real in depth on a SKOL search or the Real Forno Show, talking about some of these football players. And you're going to get a lot of that from us. And we have another SKOL search coming to you tomorrow. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Some of these grades are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
F. Yeah, I disagree with that, but I like the 201st ranked player taking it 160. I don't really care, because at that point it's like a pick your poison. Mm-hmm. I prioritize that specific player. I'm okay with that. I don't care if it's an F. Like, if you want to take the 51st ranked player at pick 10, yeah, you deserve to be flamed for it. That's a big F. But I think that's a pretty good draft. And it's not perfect, it's not flawless, but it's good. And good means something. And it gives you a baseline of what could happen if Jaden Daniels falls to 11. It's not impossible. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. And that's something that everybody needs to be aware of. Dean, we're going to have a lot of talk about free agency. Winfield will come up. But that's not going to be today. Today's show is over, and I got to go get Dynamite on, because it's a huge show. With that, don't forget SKOL search at some point on Thursday afternoon or evening, and then 2 Old Bloggers. Last time it's on Saturday at 4 p.m. Central Time. Next week, it will be on during the Daytona 500, 4 p.m. Central Time on Sunday. You won't want to miss it. And don't forget to check out the podcast feed with some stuff as well. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. Everything helps. You can also sign up to be a premium subscriber to YouTube and help us financially. And if you can't, subscribing does help us a ton. Please and thank you. I'm Tyler. He's Dave. SKOL Vikings, baby.
SKOL Vikings. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications. It helps us grow this community that we all love, our Minnesota Vikings. And on behalf of Tyler Forness and myself, Dave Stefano, thank you so dearly for watching The Real Forno Show. SKOL, everyone.